upset and offend some people. And I don't do these videos to make anyone upset, I really don't. I do these videos to give you information to help you out in life, to help you avoid mistakes. And now, whether you take this information and do something with it, that's up to you. But I often think about if my son came to me and he asked my advice, Dad, what do you think of this? I would want to tell him the truth. And now the truth can be very hard to hear at times, but that's just the way it is if ultimately you want to prevent someone from making a mistake. And now here's a key concept. Life is going to be hard, and we should not be making things any harder than needs to be. Now, a lot of law of attraction teachers, they will tell you things like just relax and allow the universe to give you whatever you want. Just allow it to happen. But in reality, that's not the way this world works. We're going to have challenges and difficulties that we're going to have to overcome. And think about it this way. If you're a football player and you have the ball and you're going to try and run it in for a touchdown, there's going to be 11 guys on the other team on the field that are going to try and tackle you, pull you down, and stop you in this game of life. And you don't need to make it any harder than you have to by saying, well, there's 11 guys that want to stop me and drag me down to the ground. Well, go ahead and put a 12th guy out there in the field. Put a 13th guy, a 14th guy. Just go ahead and put more guys out there, even though there only needs to be 11 on that opposing team. Because in reality, to get into that end zone, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to grit your teeth, and you're going to have to say, I'm going to do this no matter what. When you want to accomplish something, and you're going to have to jive and move and try to avoid these guys, and sometimes they're going to grab you and they are going to tackle you down. You're going to have to get back up, reset, and play that next down, and try and do what you can to drive forward inch by inch and get into that end zone. And you don't need other guys on the field, a 12th guy, a 13th guy out there. And that's what life is like. So key concept number one, life is difficult. You don't need to make it any more difficult than it needs to be. Okay, well, I was watching this video that came out tonight on the Black Pill YouTube channel, which is a very good channel, and he normally breaks down movies and things like that. And on these videos, often the comments are extremely interesting, and I want to share one with you. This is the real meat of what this video is about, so let's take a look at this comment. This guy says, I married, had 4 kids, and she left me to go live with 2 men. I'm remarried now to an amazing woman. She took on me and my 4 kids while she finished medical school. She's now a cardiologist, and I am a stay-at-home dad and homestead. Not the ideal, but if you don't give up, you'll find what you want. My only regret was not having 4 more children. As hard as it's been worth it. Love doesn't divide, it multiplies. And that's a great comment. Him sharing his experience, pretty wild ride in life that this guy's had, I think it's fair to say. And as a father, I know what it means as a new father having a baby, how much more love I have in my life. But some of these comments, these responses, they're quite interesting. And this guy says, 2 men? What was she like? As a woman, very liberalistic? But he gets back to some of these, and he has a very interesting response here. He says, my ex was actually kind of a prude, and then she just flipped. I think it had a lot to do with her being abused sexually and psychologically from her parents. She was adopted from Thailand. My kids are half white and beautiful. It sucks, but I'm very lucky to have found someone who was willing to take on a husband and kids all at once. I'm also lucky my ex just wanted out and gave me the kids. Marriage is hard, but if you're committed, the growth you experience can be gained no other way. Life is about what we are becoming, and leaving this life without experiencing father or motherhood with all its ups and downs and trials would be a tragedy. Right on, I'm in total agreement with what that guy says, and I understand a lot of that as just even a new father myself. But maybe I'm glad that everything's worked out in the end for this guy. And usually, when terrible things happen to us, a lot of the times things do end up working out better than we could have foreseen in our imagination if we just went the original route that we want. So maybe it's God's way for all this to come together. Now he's making his story known, and he's sharing it with people that watch this video. Now I'm making a video about it, sharing it with you, so it's creating kind of a ripple effect. And if we discuss this, maybe it can save this ripple effect. Maybe it saves one guy, two guys, three guys, whatever. It saves them a lot of pain and heartbreak. But this is a very familiar story to me that he's told, where he's had these issues with his wife. His wife left him to go leave with two men. So, pretty wild stuff, but the backstory is his wife was sexually abused. And I can't tell you, I've known many guys that married women that were sexually abused, that have that background. So, I know enough about this, I think, to give some good advice in saying, if you're involved with a woman and you know she's sexually abused and you're considering marrying her, just don't. That's a whole world of future consequences that you don't want to bring upon yourself, especially your future family, your children, everything. Like this guy, he has 4 kids with this woman. They could have issues as a result of it. God willing, they don't. But the best thing to do is just to avoid that whole situation, because in life we need to take responsibility for ourselves and what happens in our life, good and bad. So if you're a young guy, you probably have a choice in this. You choose who you marry. You can choose this. So my advice is, whatever you do, do not marry a woman that's been sexually abused. You're just taking on a lot of potential problems. And I'm not saying that it's the fault of these people. They're victims. It's not their fault. But it'd be like if my son comes to me and he says, Dad, I want to marry this woman, but she can't have children. Well, I feel very bad for that person, and it's not their fault, of course, but that doesn't mean that it's best for you to go ahead and do that. And there's other situations, too, that you probably want to avoid, such as maybe you want to marry a woman, but she has bad credit. Well, I think as a general rule, and there's exceptions typically to all this stuff, as a general rule, you don't want to marry someone that has bad credit, because you're going to be taking that on yourself, and that's kind of shows probably what type of person that woman is on a deeper level. Or generally, you don't want to marry a single mother. And there's exceptions to this, especially if you're an old guy going to marry a second time. I knew a guy that he was 49 years old. He was going to marry someone that's still a younger woman, 40. But if you're going to marry, even if she's a younger woman like he was doing a good job of marrying someone younger than him and still very attractive. But she had children. She was separated from her husband or whatever. She had children. So if you're going to marry someone that's 40, if you're an older guy, 35, 40, whatever, you got to expect them realistically to have children. And it may be in your best interest, or maybe not in your best interest, to marry that person. That's something that, quite frankly, you're going to have to use your judgment and discernment, your powers of discrimination, to decide whether that's right for yourself, whether that is the exception to the rule. So, but definitely, if you know of someone that has any kind of severe psychological, mental problems, mental illness, you definitely really should avoid that, even though that sounds mean, and I'm not saying they're bad people. I've known guys that have married literal prostitutes from third world countries, guys that have gone to Thailand or whatever, and they married women that were prostitutes. I wouldn't advise that either, even though I don't think that they're necessarily bad people. I don't really blame someone from a third world country trying to make money maybe in one night that's more than they could make an entire month working very hard. I understand that things, and people, especially young people, they make decisions, and sometimes they're not always good decisions. We're all sinners, obviously. We all have a past. So I'm not trying to say that you should think of them as bad people, but like I said in that analogy of being a football player, do you want to make your life harder than it has to be? Especially when you're having children, now you're getting other people involved in it. So there you go. That's some things to take away from this, and if you really like the content that I do on this channel, you're welcome to watch all other videos. If you want to support it, there's an affiliate link to Amazon. If you're going to buy something off of Amazon, you can click that link and then go to whatever you type in to the search on Amazon, whatever you want to buy, and it's not going to cost you anything, but I'll get a small commission. And I also have a PayPal account where you can tip me if you want to help me buy some new diapers for my baby or whatever. But other than that, go out into the world. Don't just sit on this computer, because that's not going to do you any good to sit on the computer, sit on the internet, the phone, whatever device you're using all day. Go out into the real world and smile, laugh, connect with real people. That's going to do you so much more benefit than a lot of the things that people talk about in their videos online. So until next time, my friends,